Well, I don't know if there's a single model we'd want to learn from. I think you want to take bits and pieces from a number of different models. But I think if you look to Europe, I mean, some of the things you could say pretty much across the board, I'm thinking Western Europe, obviously the countries that are closest to the U.S. in living standards, that they do work many fewer hours, and that is something that I think people there value. The idea, I know many Europeans, they're amazed. I think many of them don't even believe me when I say that people here don't have vacations. I mean, obviously a lot of people do, but there are many tens of millions of people that don't, and there's certainly no guarantee of a vacation. So paid time off that people know they could get 4 or 5 weeks vacation, which is absolutely standard in Europe. Some countries, Denmark has 6 weeks. So I think that's something that's very valuable, give people time off. Again, parental leave, this is, conservatives like to see women stay home with their kids. I don't care whether it's women or men, but the idea that people have that option, I think that's very good because it's a real strain for people to juggle a job and work. So that makes a big difference. Energy use, across Europe, average energy use, greenhouse gas emissions, about half of what is in the United States. So even though they have very comparable living standards, they use much, much less energy. Part of that is that they have more mass transit. Part of it is it's more concentrated, people live closer together, which people wrongly say in the United States it's because we're such a big country. That's really not the case. I mean, obviously we're a big country, but that's not why we're so spread out. We have land use policies that basically promote sprawl. And in Europe, they've quite consciously designed policies that have been intended to fight sprawl. And I think it would make sense for the United States to do that as well. Make it easier for people to live in the cities, make it easier or near in suburbs rather than build out 90 miles, have people commuting an hour and a half each way each day. So a number of different practices that we could take from across Europe. And again, I don't think any single country we'd want to hold up as a model, but I think they're common practices that take different forms that we could look to across Europe, Canada also. I mean, it's not just Europe. We really are the outlier among the wealthy countries in a wide range of areas. The World Bank, I think, has often played a fairly pernicious role over the last few decades, really supporting a lot of bad projects, development projects. I mean, a great example here is Chad, building an oil pipeline there where everyone knew the government in Chad was corrupt, and the World Bank made a big point of insisting that they were going to have all these safeguards to ensure that the money from the pipeline went to helping the poor people in Chad, one of the poorest countries in the world. And lo and behold, what happened was the money went to the government. They used it to buy arms. You know, it's just an example. I mean, they've had things like that all over the world. They've also promoted privatization in a wide range of areas where I think it was often inappropriate. One I'm most familiar with is Social Security in Latin America, where they've gotten almost every country in Latin America, Brazil's the big exception, to either wholly or partially privatize their Social Security system. And almost invariably, it's led to very high costs, poor coverage rates, really not very good outcomes. And they've done that with water systems. So they've very much promoted an agenda which certainly serves a lot of corporate interest, often has not served the people who they're supposed to serve, which is the poor of the world. So in principle, I mean, the World Bank's mission, if you go into the building, and it really is kind of remarkable because it's a very opulent building. I mean, no one objects to people having nice offices, but it's really quite opulent with this big fountain, big atrium. And up on the wall it says, "Our dream is a world free of poverty." And it's amazing they did that, and there's no sense of irony to that. Anyhow, I mean, their mission's a very noble one. Unfortunately, I just don't see them having done very much to advance it over the years.